The poison changed them, but the scary thing was, they wanted it. Those who were once human became monsters willingly. And when that day came, it was the minority who were human. This is the story of choices, habits, and what a very small concession can cost. A long, long time ago, in a jar-bottom-shaped corner of this vast, round world, there was a land surrounded by mountains, filled with lush vineyards in the middle, with sparkling streams and crystal-clear skies. Just like anywhere else in the world, there were other creatures living there besides humans. Among them were reptiles, poisonous insects, and spiders, but not so many as to disturb anyone. At the head of this country stood a leader, called the High-Bay. The people elected the High-Bay, candidates would step forward, and citizens would vote. Whoever received the most votes became the High-Bay. Time passed, and then something strange began happening. The number of reptiles and venomous creatures started to increase rapidly. Snakes, centipedes, scorpions, spiders, lizards, they multiplied by the day and also grew in size. Snakes grew as tall as poplar trees and as wide as their trunks. Spiders became as big as houses, even newborn lizards were larger than crocodiles. Centipedes stretched out like passenger trains. The wings of bats grew as wide as tents. Wise minds, deep thinkers, and virtuous people tried to understand the cause of all this, but they could not figure out why these harmful creatures were multiplying and growing so fast. It didn't stop there. These creatures began to bite and sting people, but strangely, those bitten didn't die. Instead, the poison numbed their brains, putting them in a dreamy state, and this feeling, it was pleasurable. Once even a little of that poison entered their blood, people became addicted. They couldn't stop, they would crave more. They began to voluntarily get stung, first once a week, then every other day, then daily, then several times a day. The ones who still used their minds and had noble hearts searched for a way to save humanity from this poisonous pleasure. But those who had become addicted opposed them. The nation split into two. While there were many differences between people, this divide stood above all. Those who believed the poison was good and those who knew it wasn't. As the bites and stings continued, more and more people became addicted. The others, the ones who resisted, started to dwindle. Over time, the poison began to transform people. Those bitten by snakes slowly turned green, their bodies grew longer, their heads shrank, and eventually they became snakes. Just like that, they would slither along the ground, trying to bite others. Some grew long, thin fingers and limbs, their hands and feet disappeared and new ones sprouted until they turned into giant spiders. Then they would leap onto others. The poison had changed people. It turned them into creatures, snakes, centipedes, bats, worms, crawling, creeping monsters. Those who remained human resisted with all they had, shouting whenever they had a chance, "Citizens, hold on to your humanity. Don't become spiders. Don't turn into scorpions." But no one listened. Those who had changed grew in numbers and power. When they heard these warnings, they'd shout back, "Traitors, enemies," and they'd attack. The remaining humans became so few that they feared a day would come when no humans would be left at all. And when the time came to choose a new High-Bay, the votes went to whichever creature the transformed one supported. But there were still intellectuals in that land. They asked, "What's happening to us? How do we stop it? How do we protect the people?" Each had a different answer. Some said, "Those who've changed shouldn't be allowed to vote, they're no longer human." But others argued, "They may look different now, but their children are still born human. If no poison enters their blood, they remain human." Some intellectuals said, "To stay human, we must eat with forks." Others said, "Wear pressed pants. Shave daily." But none of these worked. So the intellectuals began to travel to other lands. They wanted to see if other places had creatures transforming like theirs, and if not, why. They returned with many ideas. Some said, let's build bigger windows in our homes. Let's bring examples of good people from other lands. Let's send our own people abroad so they can learn. Even some suggested, jump 3 times a day. Sleep on your left side. But one of them, one whose mind was truly sharp, said, listen to me. I figured out why the creatures grow and multiply. It's the wind, a wind that helps these creatures thrive. It blows from the east. We must stop it. He explained that in countries shielded from the east wind by mountains, the same problems didn't exist. We must block the wind before it's too late. Otherwise, we'll all turn into creatures. Some believed him, some laughed. But those who believed him began to fight back against the transformed ones. It was a brutal war, because the current Hebei was on the side of the majority. That country was surrounded by strong fortress walls, with gates on all sides. As the people tried to shut the east gate, others fought to keep it open. There was blood, but in the end, those trying to protect humanity succeeded. They sealed the east gate and the transformed ones were left outside. The wise one who led the effort became the next Hebei. He warned, don't ever open that gate. Even a crack is enough. If it opens an inch one day, it'd swing wide open. Eventually, that wise Hebei passed away. Others were elected. The creatures still existed, but with the gate sealed, they couldn't grow or spread. Then, the elections came again. None of the candidates wanted people to become monsters again. But they did want to win. One candidate thought, I just need 3 more votes. I'll open the gate just a little. And he did, and he won. Seeing this, others opened the gate a little more to let in a few more voters. Just 10 votes worth, just 1,000. Soon, the gate was fully open again. But none of the Hebeis wanted it to stay open forever. So they kept shouting, push it closed. From the inside, hold it tight. So the gate spun endlessly, opening and closing, swaying back and forth, and the Hebeis, they just kept yelling, hold on citizens, push, hold tight.